So this race is really, really close. And my brain is telling me that wind and rain, the most annoying weather for runners. Like, I live in Australia, it's supposed to be hot all year round. Like, why is it so dark in the middle of the day? Ugh. Guess I'll just do something else today then, eh? Is anyone else as hyped for the Olympics as I am? Like, I'm so excited, especially for all the running events, nothing else. And what makes it even better is that I'm gonna be there. So yeah, I'm traveling 16,000 kilometers to the Olympics to watch Jacob smash that 5K and get a gold medal. More on that later. But I thought it would be fun to put out my predictions nice and early for the 1500 all the way out to the marathon so that we can come back to this video later and have a big laugh about how wrong I was. Or be absolutely amazed about how I get every single pick right. Who knows? Okay, the men's and the women's events from the 1500 all the way up to the marathon. Let's go. Okay, the 1500. On one side of the 1500, it's probably the most interesting and exciting races in the whole Olympic calendar. But on the other side, it was the most boring until I watched Diamond League on the weekend. Because Faith Kipyegon is an absolute tank over the 1500. She's absolutely nuts. Probably unbeatable. She has such a hard kick in the last 200 meters of her races. It's like unfathomable that anyone could even beat her in a 1500. But here's the thing, Jess Hull is also a tank and she's Australian, which is a bonus. And she was able to hold on to Faith until probably the last 200 meters before she got out-kicked. So that's a fair effort. And considering that Tegay has also ran pretty fast this year, I would say that first, second and third is going to be between those three, probably with Faith coming first and Hull and Tegay fighting over second place. So my brain says that Faith's going to win, but my heart really wants Jess to win because that would be really cool for Australia. But anyway, the men's 1500. Building up for the last 6 months with so much shit talking and beef. Oh man, it's going to be so good. And we saw clues as to what's going to happen in the Bowerman Mile a couple of months ago when it was just a fast as fuck race and everyone pretty much PB'd or got close to PB. But realistically, this race is between two people, Josh Kerr and Jacob Ingebrigtsen. Everyone else is just not going to be able to keep up. So this is a hard one to pick, but my brain is telling me that Josh Kerr kind of has to win. He's already beat Jacob twice in the last 2 times that they've faced off in 2 different ways. The first time was at Eugene, I think it was, when he outkicked him in the last 100 meters, and the second time at the Bowerman Mile, when Josh went from like 600 meters out in a full suicide, full send mission, and then got the win. So that shows that he can win in many different ways, and if Jacob wants to pick up the pace from the start, Josh can probably go with him. But my heart really wants Jacob to win. I just want the Norwegian hype train to just continue on. I'm not even Norwegian because he was coming off an injury and really bad training over the summer or their winter, I guess. Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere. And so really he didn't do that much training before the Bowerman Mile. He said that he did 4 sessions in the 8 days leading up to it to try and peak up for that race. So it means that he's not in the best shape and he was only a second behind. So if he's at another 8-week training camp, probably at altitude, he could come into this race really peaking, and Josh might have already peaked early in the year and maybe he'll start to drop off. We don't know. But my heart is telling me that Jacob will win and Josh should win on paper using my brain. But there's just too many fast runners in this Olympic Games for this to not be a really fast race. So I'm really keen to see everyone just full send it. Which brings us on to the 5K. I forgot to do the board, hold on. 5K. The best distance in my opinion, and a weekend warriors distance for sure. And I guess we'll start with the females again. And Faith is just such a tank. But I think it's a little bit closer in the 5K compared to the 1500, because there's been a couple of girls this year that have run really fast and ran world records. Like, here's the thing. I do see Faith winning 8 times out of 10, but those other 2 times, she doesn't win. What am I saying? Because this race gets really interesting because Tigay has ran a world record on the track and Chibet has ran a world record 5K on the road. And Tigay almost broke 14 minutes in the 5K, which is just not heard of from a woman ever before. So they're no slouches. So this race is really, really close. And my brain is telling me that Faith is just such a powerhouse and a tank. And she's got that 1500 meter kick that might be able to be used in this race. So Faith has to go there, number 1. But what I really want to see and what my heart wants to see is a really close race where people are just putting it all on the line and fully sending it. Now for the men, this is also a tricky race to pick because Jacob hasn't really ran any hard 5Ks this year. He's kind of just barely qualified for the Olympics just to make sure. And there's been other dudes that have been absolutely flying in the 5K. Like Gebruet and Kajelcha, like tag team themselves to almost beating the world record. I think they were only like a second or 2 off, which is just insane. But here's where it gets a little bit more interesting because the last lap of that 5K race, when they both ran really fast, they covered that last lap in like 50 something seconds, which is a massive kick. And that's what Jakob usually relies on during the 5K races, is hanging in the pack and then having a big kick on the last lap. So they have the same attributes that Jakob does. So I want to see a really good race. My heart tells me that Jakob's going to win. And my brain tells me that Jakob's also going to win because I'm a big Norwegian hype train fanboy, basically. And the 10K is where it gets a little bit more hazy because I have no real picks for the 10K. It's a really hard one. There's no one that really stands out as an absolute 10K Chad. But for the men, it's basically just like Team Ethiopia that could win all 3 medals, I think. But I'll be honest, that's the most boring outcome. And I don't want to see that. I'd love to see someone like Grant Fisher or even an Australian just somehow miraculously get a minute faster in the 10K and get a gold medal. That'd be so mad. Come on. So my brain's telling me Ethiopia, and after those 3 picks, maybe if they all fall over or something, it's basically a wash. Anyone could win after that. And that would actually be really interesting if all 3 of them somehow fell. Now for the women's 10K, and once again, no one really sticks out as someone that's just an absolute 10K fiend. So I'm picking someone who I know has ran pretty well this year, and they might be able to pull out a 10K crazy kick at the end of the race out of the bag. I don't know. Chibet. Go Chibet. Now for the marathon. And this marathon at Paris was supposed to be the biggest Olympic marathon of all time, where the GOAT Eliud Kipchoge was going to actually race against the future and probably sub 2 hour marathon record holder in Kelvin Kiptum, but we didn't get to see that, and that's fucking shit. We were robbed from the most important race of probably our generation. Damn. But anyways, I'm going to come out and say it and just tell you what my heart really wants in this race. I want Eliud Kipchoge or Kenenisa Bekele to get a gold medal. That'd be the coolest thing ever. But here's the thing. Eliud hasn't ran very well in his last race, and Bekele probably doesn't have the pace to get up the front, but he has that dog in him. We saw him at Valencia drag himself back to a podium finish, so maybe. But let's think a little bit more with my brain and what I think is going to happen. I think Cisse Lemma probably has the best chance to run away with this, because you remember at that Valencia, I think it was a Valencia marathon, where they all went out at like a ridiculous pace. Like the first half marathon was like 1 hour and 30 seconds. And Cisse was the only one to actually hold onto the pace towards the end when he ran like a 2:01. So that puts him in a pretty good stead. And Bekele was in that race too, and he dropped off very early and then came back, but Siso Lemma clearly has the pace. There's also Kiplagat and Benson Caputo. They also have run pretty good times, but it really comes down to this. Whoever's conditioned themselves for the hills in Paris and also the heat is going to do really well. And we've seen Elliott run really well in the heat, but not very well on hills, unfortunately. Boston Marathon, he absolutely got destroyed. So I don't know. I reckon Bekele, Elliott, and Siso Lemma for the win. Now for the women, this is a very interesting one, particularly after the London Marathon that just went. Because everyone would have thought that Asefa was just going to run away with it because she's like the world record holder by like 3 minutes or something. But in London, there was actually a tactical race where 3 of them, jogged basically until the last K or 2. And then she actually got out-kicked. So that tells me that a tactical race like at the Olympics, maybe Asefa can't do that. So the next one up, I'm going to go with Ibiri. I think she's a weapon and she's so fast. And even though her running style looks a bit whack, it's fast. So my brain is telling me that Ibiri should win because even though she's got a weird looking running style, it's clearly fast and she's outkicked a lot of people at the end of her marathon races. And she's also fast on the track. So Ibiri should win. That's what my brain is telling me. But my heart really wants Hassan to win because she's such a beast. And I hated seeing her fall over in that race last year. And now I just want her to win every race that she's in because she's so cool. Hassan. But like I said, I'm going to be there for the men's 10K final. And I'll be there for the men's marathon on the same day in Paris. So I'm very keen for that. And if you live in Paris and you want to have a run with me, let me know in the comments below. Peace.